I'd like to thank the RZC and everybody here, the World Mizrachi. I'm honored to be. I thought there would be sitting together with the panelists, but I'm able to share this morning with my co-panelists, who I'm very excited to hear afterwards, after my presentation, where Rabbi Cutler, where I have the pleasure of sharing the same Beit Midrash in Yerushalayim, the Tobins, who I've known for many, many years, including their son coming into Yeshivat HaKotel at times, many times in Yerushalayim. So I'm really honored, and thank you very much for this invitation this morning. I was asked to speak about Al Pi Torat Yisrael. We know Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Al Pi Torat Yisrael. And it's something so special as we're about to celebrate the 70th year of the foundation of the State of Israel, that the question that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to ask us at the end of our days is Sipit, one of the questions. It's Sipita Yeshua. Have you anticipated the coming of seeing HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and not only on an individual level, but on a national level? The Ran asks, it's not just a question in a vacuum. The Ran adds one word. It's Sipita Yeshua Bechayecha. Within your lifetime, are you looking at the miracles of history to be able to understand how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is helping us in daily life and daily existence? And therefore, I would like in my short talk, since I was asked to talk about Torat Yisrael, is to focus on 4 points of what it means to have the State of Israel now. The first point is the resuscitation of Torah, the Tchiyat HaTorah, from an individual to a nation in Eretz Yisrael. The second point will be the Kvod HaTorah, the idea of being able to be proud, Va'olech etchem kol ma'miyut, to be able to leave Egypt, Uvnei Yisrael yotzim biyad ramah, not just cast off slaves, feeling low, but standing proud. The third point of Torat Yisrael is the Harbatzat and Hafatzat Torah, the actual abundance and plethora of the studying of Torah, not only Kimitzion Teitzei Torah Udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, but all the way from the south, the Negev, Yerucham, all the way up to the north. And finally, the fourth point will be the Shleimut HaTorah, the completion of Torah, as a result of the ingathering of the exiles, the Kibbutz Galuyot. The first point being the resuscitation of Torah. There's a startling Gemara in Masechet Chagigah that talks about when Am Yisrael was exiled. And it's based on a pasuk in Yirmiyahu that talks about that you didn't listen to me, Yirmiyahu says. And you're crying, let me give you a reason to cry. And the pasuk says, because of your haughtiness, you're not going to be listening. There are 3 different tears. And the Gemara says, the end of these tears is Ki Nishba Eder Hashem. The flock of the Ribono Shel Olam has been taken captivity. It is in captive. Ask the Gemara, what are these 3 tears? The first opinion says it's as a result of the destruction of the first temple, Churban Beit HaMikdash Rishon. The second tier, Churban Beit HaMikdash Hasheni. The third tier, the Gemara says, because of Galut Yisrael, because of exile. But then the Gemara says, Ika da Amre. The third one is not because of the exile, but because of Bitul Torah, the loss of Torah. The Gemara says, what does the loss of Torah have to do with Nishba Eder Hashem, this captivity? And the Gemara says a startling statement, an amazing statement. The Gemara says, Keivan shegalu Yisrael mim koman. Once Am Yisrael has been exiled from her place, Ein lecha bitul Torah gadol mizeh. There's no greater bitul Torah. And you read this Gemara, and you're like, what? There's so much beautiful learning Torah all around the world. In the tri-state area, being a New Yorker, but being really all over the world. So much daf yomi, April 29th in City Field, you name it. So much Torah. Bittul Torah. Is this a joke? It's not a joke. Let me explain to you what I believe, as I said, what happened as a result of Hakamat HaMedina. There was a Tchiyat HaTorah. There was a resuscitation of the Torah from an individual to a nation. And I would like to describe with you, I was reading a book, the book of the chief rabbi. It's a great book. The chief rabbi, the first chief rabbi of Tzahal, Shlomo Goren, Zichrono Livracha. And so many different stories. What a unique individual. So much to learn from him. But one point, in the book, it tells us about his ability to maybe take on the position of the chief rabbi of Tzahal. And you think, oh, this is COVID. This is like real. Jump at it. And his hesitation was not because of not the salary. So what was his hesitation of becoming the first chief rabbi of the IDF? And he explains that, he said, look what happened. For years in the state of Israel, we had the Arba Chalkei Shulchan Aruch. We had the Orach Chaim. We had how to live our daily lives. The Even HaEzer, the Choshen Mishpat, how to business. Yoredeya of Isur and Heter. But how am I going to be able to know how to reconcile a Jewish army? An army that wants to be Jewish and follow halacha. Where's that fifth Shulchan Aruch? And he was able to say, okay, I take that responsibility. To be able to now have a Medina of part of V'yitem Lila Am, to be able to live al pi Torat Yisrael. You skip ahead to October 2016. I was on a beautiful Shabbat afternoon. It wasn't raining like it was here, but I was being able to come smell my fluffy pillow, to be able to say Shabbos, Sheina b'Shabbos ta'anug. Some say Sheina b'Shabbos sababa. Oh, being able to sleep. Great, I'm about to go hit the pillow. And then, obviously, you have a minhag to read. Some people, different newspapers. The Makor Rishon, I had a paper. The minhag is you're about to hit the pillow, and of course you're going to read. How much are you going to read? Is it going to be a half a page, 3? But what happens? A certain caption hit me. It said, Ma'aminim b'mishtara. There was a whole program that started in Tafshin Ayin that happened what? They want to recruit police officers from Dati Leumi, the religious Zionist institutions, to be able to come and be able to be in the police and again follow halacha. So in the beginning of the education, they have a Beit Midrash to understand what needs to be done and machshava in halacha to be able to know how to be a police officer. And they hired a Rav of Talmud in December 2016, Rav Rami Barachayahu, to be able, the exact same message of being able to have a Jewish police, to be able not just to know in theory, but in practice, how to be able to follow the halakha with the expertise of being a police officer, but understanding all the different complications that come up in a Medina like Medinat Yisrael. The second point, which I wanted to talk about with Torah Yisrael, is the Kvod HaTorah. And I think to properly appreciate where we're at now in Tafshin Ayin Chet, we need to travel back. You have to know Dame Ayin Bata. And I traveled back recently in a magazine in Eretz Yisrael called the Olam Katan. They've started a nice interviews for the 70 years. So 2 weeks ago, they interviewed Rav Yaakov Ariel, the outgoing chief rabbi of Ramat Gan. And they asked him, who was the most influential figure for you for the revolution that's happening now called religious Zionism in the state of Israel? And he said, if you ask me, who do I need to choose? Who's the one figure? It would be Rav Moshe Tzvi Neria, Zichrono Livracha, where he was able to get out of Stalin-ruled Russia, where he learned Torah clandestinely with Mesirut Nefesh. He applied the concept of called Chalut, which was a Chalutz Torani, being a Torah pioneer, taking the good values of secular Zionism and forming what we call religious Zionism of Torah v'Avodah. He was inspired learning in Yeshivat Merkaz Aram by Rav Kook, Zichrono Livracha, what they call Harav. He became the spiritual and educational influence of Bnei Akiva only 10 years after his arrival. In 1940, in Tafshinayin, he was able to have the vision to start the first yeshiva called Yeshivat Kfar Haroeh. Just to tell you about the idea, the brazen idea of this yeshiva, it describes that a Rav Chashuv says, "What are you doing? Why are you starting this yeshiva? Let somebody else do it." Others described to him, "Where are you going to get the money?" Others said, "Do you have the right personnel for the yeshiva?" The students, but the students themselves says, "Alo nale, we could do it." This yeshiva led to the formation of what's now many yeshivot high schools and seminaries that are all over the state of Israel. Rav Ariel relates that 12 years later, under his madrich, Rav Chaim Druckman Shlita, the yeshiva got stronger in learning and religious observance, ultimately leading to the creation of Yeshivat Netiv Meir, Nichalim, and many other yeshivot. Rav Druckman, recently I brought my students to Rav Druckman in Yeshivat Or Etzion. He was talking about what religious Zionism is today. There was also another article about the development of Bnei Akiva in the state of Israel. He says, "Guys, you don't understand. When I was a chanich, when I was there, even a madrich in the state of Israel in the 1950s, you couldn't walk around with the kippah and be proud. We were walking in the streets of the state of Israel and you didn't feel comfortable. You felt shafel, you felt low. And now you're able to come and walk around feeling comfortable. Whatever type of kippah you're wearing, whatever type of person you are, to walk around. To be able to say that we came out of Mitzrayim, to have the komah, the physical stance of standing proud, both on a physical level and also on a spiritual level." The third point for this morning is the harbatzat and hafatzat Torah, the plethora of Torah that is being studied, unprecedented in world history. It leads me to talk about Torah in all sectors. To mention a few, the who, if you will, the Haredi yeshivot and neighborhoods. I'll mention a couple, there's so many, the Ashdod and Modin Elite and Kiryat Sefer. You're talking the Mir, we have 5,000 Talmidim, Yeshiva Chevron, Panovich, Tifrach, all the way down in the south, 1,000 students. There are 50,000 Avrechim, each one receiving 1,000 shekel a month. My wife is my accountant. $17 million annually. The government is sponsoring Torah. So therefore, whatever you're reading about the government, just to understand the facts, there is no greater sponsor in Torah than Medinat Yisrael. It's something that you go and even telling you, there's a chill of understanding what we're part of now. Not only in the actual learning, but the publishing of Svarim, the manuscripts of Mossad Rav Kook, of Machon Yehuda in Yerushalayim, plus many other institutes of higher learning. The general feeling of wanting to connect to your roots, the Shorashim in Medinat Yisrael, where secular Jews, already since 1989, have had coming back to their Shorashim, and learning also as part of the culture. But it's not necessarily separate paths. There's so many programs. I'll just share with you one program that I've seen with my own eyes for the last 4 years in Yeshivat HaKotel. It's a program that's sponsored by an organization called Lav, and I'll thank Rav Jerry and the Religious Zionists of Chicago and the World Mizrachi for me to continue to do the research just to see the beauty of what's going on. Because sometimes we just don't understand of the miracles and the tremendous Mesirut Nefesh that is going on within Am Yisrael in Medinat Yisrael. This is an organization called Lahav that comes, and there is a very, very secular, elitist high school in Haifa. It's called the High School of, not Elita, but of Realia. They have over 1,000 students. And the 11th grade has a shichva, which means they have in their section 480 students that come for 1 week every year to Yerushalayim. 480 students, 250 boys and 200 We have mathematics here. 240 and 240. 240 girls go to Midrash Arova, and 240 come to Yeshiva Kotel. You see the fire of what's going on, learning the Torah with the students and the secular students, and these are, it's unbelievable to watch. And that's just one small example, because it's not only in the Beit Midrash, but it's also in other areas, which we'll get to in a second, but I would be remiss to finish up the who with all the women institutions, the higher level institutions that started from 0, now it's up to 65 and counting. Unprecedented proliferation of higher institutions of learning. I have to mention Matan because Dr. Dodi is here, and I'm happy to mention it, but it's unbelievable. The who, but it's not only the who, it's the where. I mentioned the army before. Being able, I have students in the army, to understand the sensitivity that is happening. A student of mine just told me his his Mefaked Machlaka, higher ranking officer, not religious. He was coming in. He called up the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Kotel, Rabbi Baruch Vider. What can I do for your student to make him feel more comfortable in the army? Now, it's not all like that, and I'm not trying 100, but this has just happened last week. He not only called up Rav Vider, he also called up the head of the Yeshiva Igod Hesder to ask the same exact question. So it's not only in the who, it's the where, but it's also in the what, which is, we all are very familiar with the Daf Yomi. To be able, from Meir Shapira Melublin, there's also the Rambam Yomi, which is very, very popular now. There's also the bestseller, the 929, the Tanakh, which was started, an unbelievable website of people learning Tanakh. And you're talking about started in December 2014, to be able to learn a Tanakh, a parak of Tanakh every single day, and it's finishing right now for the 70th, the first Machzor of the state of Israel. And so if this leads me to the point of this abundance of Talmud Torah, that we're living in the times of Yemot HaMashiach, as the Rambam states in Hilchot Shuvah, Lefi sheba'otana yamim, tarbeh chokhmah, tremendous amount of thirst for spirituality and for emet, shenemar ki mala haaretz de'at Hashem. That leads me to my final point, which is the part 2 of the resuscitation of the Torah, which is the Shleimut HaTorah. Through the kibbutz galuyot, the ingathering of exiles to Eretz Yisrael. And I'd like to conclude with this point with a couple of personal stories. We're in the 70th year with the Midrashim talk about the 70 faces of Torah, Shivim Panim Torah. And already the Aruch HaShulchan, Rabbi Yechiel Mechel Epstein, in his introduction to Choshen Mishpat, deals with the pasuk in Kohelet that says, look, Nitnu Torah miroeh echad divrei chachamim kidarbanot. It seems so much. You have this person saying mutter, permissible, asur, tamei, tahor. How can this all be true? It seems to be too much. Says the Aruch HaShulchan so beautifully, it's like a harmony, because Torah is known as Shirah. Let me quote it for you, where the Aruch HaShulchan says, this is the glory of the Shir, Tiferet HaShir. When there are different, beautiful voices coming. The idea, we have over 130 countries coming to one nation, speaking 82 languages. And I live in a place called Even Shmuel. I don't just live in Yerushalayim, Beit Shemesh, Renana, all great places. But also Even Shmuel, which is 45 minutes north of Beersheba, 30 minutes south of Beit Shemesh. And where I live, there was an orchard 7 years ago. Now you're talking about 250 families over there, plus and growing from all over. Different people. So we started a Daf Yomi Shir, there's a Talmud Torah there, amazing things that are going on from all around. But one of the beautiful pieces of the Shleimut HaTorah, as the Aruch HaShulchan explained, I want to just conclude with the 2 stories. We just finished Chodesh Nisan. And the idea of the Birkat HaIlanot, there's a certain emphasis of making the bracha in Chodesh Nisan. And I remember vividly being in the Beit Knesset and our expansion side in the Harchava. And Rav Asher, who was the Rav of the Yishuv, who passed away recently, Zichron Levracha, he's sitting there in this expanded side of the Yishuv. And the person's making the announcements and saying, tomorrow, morning, right after davening, we'll be going to the house of Mishpachat Bracha. Very sweet, sweet people, literally Kishmo Kenu. Really a tremendous family, where we'll be going and having Kiddush there, and everyone will make the bracha. In a second, the Rav goes, "What? You're going to make the bracha on Shabbat? This is not the minhag of Eben Shmuel." This Rav, he was Ashkenazic, but he also was Kabbalistic. And there's certain Kabbalistic ideas that you're not going to make this bracha on Shabbat. So then the person who was making the announcements composed himself. He says, "Okay." And then somebody says, "Okay, you should know, there's a rabbi who's a rabbi in the next over Yishuv called Shalva, and he has a minhag from the country that he comes from. There will be the bracha on Chol HaMoed Pesach." And everyone's like, right. Within a second, the rabbi goes, "What? Chol HaMoed Pesach, Sunday morning at Nate's, that's when we're making the bracha. That's what's going on in Eben Shmuel." Meaning you have this opportunity to learn so many things. Where the Torah that I teach, I give a shir. Literally, I was so inspired. I had my Talmidim over. Some of them are in the army, others not. Recently in the Seder, such a beautiful idea of the kittel, wearing the kittel. That a student of mine said, we wear the kittel because we're getting married to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I thought it was such a beautiful idea. The Sheva Brachos are highlighted. Amazing. Not just for the Korban Pesach, etc. I got up, speaking in the shul, and I said, "The kittel." And they looked at me like I was from Mars. What's a kittel? I'm like, the white shroud. And they all look at me like, the Adbash, you're not dying. What are you talking about? And I said, what you wear on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they looked at me because they're from Jerba. They're from Tunisia, Morocco. They don't wear a kittel. And I had to learn. And it's every time that I'm giving a shir, I do my research and I say, okay, so what's the minhag in Teiman? What's the halacha? And I literally, the night before I came here, I sat down right in the first row. One of the rabbis was giving a shir in halacha siman kuf ayin tet about the halacha of brachot and when you live. And it's so beautiful. He says something that the Maran, the Shulchan Aruch says. And then the question is that what the Ramah says there? And we have this whole big midrash of saying, but this is what the Kaf HaChaim says. And all of a sudden, Torah is becoming shalem. It's not only what the Ramah says. It's not only what Rav Moshe Feinstein, Zichron Tzadik Livracha says. It's what Rav Chacham, Rav Ovadia Yosef says, Zichron Tzadik Livracha. The Kaf HaChaim, Rav Sholom Mashush. You're learning the rabbis and the way of Torah is coming so alive. The Shleimut Torah, the richness of what some things in the Ashkenazic world is Kodesh Kadashim, in the Sephardic world is not as great, to say it in a nice way. So to be able to conclude and thank again for this morning, it's so inspiring of being able to be with the Medina and seeing it, the Damei Ayin Bata, Ula'ana To'olech, and really to fulfill HaKadosh Baruch Hu of Tzipita Yeshua B'chayecha, to be able to see where we came from, the resuscitation of Torah, the Kvoda Torah, the plethora of learning that's happening, just amazing, and then the Shleimut Torah. Good morning and Chag Sameach.